I always knew I wanted children. My love for them has always been so strong, but I never realized the type of trauma I would go through when becoming a mother. My name is Lisa Dirksen, and this is my journey to motherhood so far. I got married when I was 20. Me and my husband Jake were married for shortly over a year before I found out I was pregnant. This was my first pregnancy, and let me tell you, I was ecstatic. My dreams of becoming a mom were happening. I knew I was young, but it was something I knew I was ready for. We got to enjoy this pregnancy for 6.5 weeks before it ended in a miscarriage. I was heartbroken. I knew miscarriages happened, but did not expect me to have one. This was a tough time for me, but God was telling me to try again. 3 months later, I found out I was pregnant again. Although I was nervous for another miscarriage, I was so happy. I was feeling pretty good. I did have some moments of nausea, but they honestly just made me happy because it was confirmation that things were progressing. The first trimester went smooth. Blood works and ultrasounds were looking good. I was finally in the clear. What could go wrong at this point? The heartbeat was strong and I did not have a miscarriage, so all was well in my mind. I booked an early ultrasound to find out the gender, and we had our gender reveal. We invited both sides of our immediate family. Everyone was so excited that we were having a boy. I knew from that moment his name would be Oakley. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I had my anatomy. Again, not once did I think something could go wrong. I went in with so much peace of mind. A few days after my anatomy, my midwife called me and asked me to come into the office to discuss my anatomy results. I was told my baby was overall healthy but did have an omphalocele. After multiple ultrasounds, my care was transferred to London. I will be keeping details of Oakley's story short right now, but I will be sharing an in-depth video of Oakley's story soon. After care was transferred to London, we found out there was so much more wrong with Oakley than we initially thought. He had an extremely rare, incompatible with life diagnosis called limb-body wall complex. There were only 2 other known survivors, and we were given a less than 2% chance of survival for our little boy. My dreams to becoming a mother fell crushed. Why would God punish me? Why did God take my first baby so early and now will be taking my second one too? I was told that the chances of me carrying to term were extremely low and to expect baby boy to pass at any point. Every appointment, I reheard the words incompatible with life. My heart was shattered over and over every time we left a doctor's appointment. I was alone in this. I had my husband, my family, and my friends, yet I was completely alone. No one could understand what kind of pain I was going through. Every time I felt my little boy kick, I told myself, this is probably the last time. Faith kept me going. God's got this were the only words I told myself. Little Oakley held on tight and made it to term. I had a scheduled C-section on December 29th, 2020, where I would say hello and goodbye, or so I thought. God had different plans for Oakley and decided to give our family a miracle. After 4 long weeks of testing and planning, we got to leave the NICU and take Oakley Jacob Dirksen home. I had no idea what to do with a medical child like this, but I was ready to fight this fight. If God was really letting me have Oakley, I knew He would give me the strength I needed to care for him, no matter the complications his diagnosis may bring. We enjoyed life with our little family for only a few months before I found out I was pregnant again. A very big shock to us, as I was not expecting to have more children until I figured out how life with Oakley would really be. I was terrified with this pregnancy. What would be wrong this time? Will it be another miscarriage? What will the medical diagnosis be? Until my anatomy scan result, I was living in fear once again. My results came back and I was told, "Your baby girl looks great. There are no complications." Those words were so calming. I felt a sense of comfort I had not felt before. I tried to have a VBAC with this delivery, but since my deliveries were only 15 months apart, my body was not ready. I was in labor since 6:30 a.m. on May 9th and went in for an emergency C-section at 8 p.m. to deliver my baby girl. After only 3 days in the hospital, Alea Hope Dirksen came home. I was now a mom to 2 beautiful babies, each beautiful and so perfect in their very own way. Then, almost 2 years later, I found out I was pregnant again. This was another surprise, but I was ready for this one. Alea was fine. Oakley was still here with me. What could go wrong? I was scared to have another baby, but I was ready for this journey. I went in for my first ultrasound, where I saw and heard the heartbeat. It was so strong and precious. I instantly felt calm. Everything was going to be okay. A few weeks later, I had to call Jake with news. "I'm bleeding. Can you come home?" I was terrified, but kept telling myself, it's normal to bleed in pregnancy. This is normal. Although I was telling myself it was normal, I knew I needed to go to the hospital. I went to the ER and waited. After blood and urine, I was told that my levels were looking low, but they couldn't confirm anything until I had an ultrasound. I needed to come back on Monday morning. I went home and tried to find comfort. That Sunday, we went to church and did a cardboard testimony on stage to share what God had done for us. Little did anyone know the pain our hearts were going through. After this, we went to a family gathering. Bleeding got intense, and I went back to the ER. I was told that the levels confirmed a miscarriage, but again, needed to come back in the morning for an ultrasound. I left the hospital with a baby inside me that was not going to stay with me for much longer. The next morning, we went in for the ultrasound and saw the doctor shortly after. "I'm sorry, but there is no heartbeat. Baby has passed away." Once again, my heart was shattered. I was told to go home and come back in the morning for a possible D&C. After being home for a few hours, I started to labor intensely. We quickly brought Oakley and Alea to my parents and rushed back home. After laboring for some time, my baby was delivered in the bathtub. Waylon Tate Dirksen. I held him in my hands and saw so clearly he was a baby boy. He also had the exact same diagnosis as Oakley. Our little boy, once again, had limb-body wall complex. After holding Waylon for a brief time, bleeding got extremely intense and I lost consciousness. I was carried out and rushed to the ER. I had hemorrhaged and needed to be admitted for blood transfusions. I went home a couple of days after to bury my baby boy. This led to the question once again, why me? 3 out of 4 of my pregnancies have been traumatic and resulted in some type of loss. Why would God give me 2 babies with the same diagnosis that is incompatible with life, but only let me keep one of them? And once again, I had to remind myself that God's plan is over mine. I may never understand, I may always question why me, but I also know God has granted me so many miracles with my 2 beautiful children, and I know I have 2 waiting to say, "Hi, Mommy," when I get to heaven. My path to motherhood has been hard, complicated, and full of so much hurt and so much joy at the same time. And I will forever be grateful to God for staying with me the entire time. This is my journey as a mom so far, and I have faith God will keep me strong no matter where this journey leads.